Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Sistory. My name is Sister Penelope Crude, and today we have two amazing sisters.
Hello, everybody. I am Sister Maryjane Antoinette, and I am here with my mother.
I'm Sister Krissy Fiction, the nun that got nailed.
How long have you been a sister for?
I have been a member of the order for 14 years, so that includes my time as a junior member. Coming up this December, I'll have been an FP for 13 years, so 12, almost 13 years as a fully professed sister.
13, that's a good luck number.
I know, especially this year. Oh my goodness.
Right? Yeah. You got all the black cats on your side now.
Yes.
For sure. For sure. When was the first time that you saw a sister?
Oh, that is a really good question, because I have a really a strange journey coming out. I came out very briefly when I was about 19, and even went to a pride in San Francisco, and I am sure that I did see a sister there, but that was so long ago. And then I went back in the closet. I went into conservative Christianity and kind of did the whole, oh, I'm not really gay, let's pray it all away, the ex-gay thing. And I did that for a long time, for about a decade of my life. And then I came back out, and the first time I really registered who the sisters were was about a year, maybe 2 years before the Portland house started. I went up to Seattle with two of the founders of the Portland house and my partner at the time. And we were friends with several of the people who founded the Portland house, but this was before the house founded. We had gone up to a bingo in Seattle, and the Seattle sisters used to do bingo for, I think it was Lifelong AIDS Alliance in Seattle. And so they would host this bingo there. And because our two friends were interested in starting a house here, I went with them and experienced that bingo that they did in this huge fundraiser. And it was so big and grandiose. And I loved what they were doing. And the more I learned about who the sisters were and what they were doing and what they represented, the more intrigued I became.
And they helped us get the whole house get together.
They did. So then when the founders started forming the house, the Seattle house was kind of our mentor house and oversaw that process.
These are our fairy godmothers.
Yes.
And then when did you know for sure when you were at bingo? Like that was when you were like, I gotta be a sister?
I don't know if I felt my calling immediately right then, but I really loved what they were doing and was very intrigued. And several of my friends who went on to become founders of the house here in Portland were very interested in it. And I was pursuing a master's degree at the time. So I wasn't able to participate in that. And I kept doing my work on the master's degree, and they started founding the house, but I saw what they were doing, and I just kept learning more about the sisters. And it became really apparent to me that this was something that that really spoke to me because of my background in ministry and the way that the sisters were impacting the community in this very irreverent and zany and outrageous way, but also had this very profound and serious message underneath that, like those two things combined. I loved that, and I love that this was a way that I could really serve my community and put my own spiritual beliefs into action in the community in in an authentic way, like, you know, but also in this kind of really outrageous, fun, irreverent way. And I think that's kind of where I found my calling. And I still love that about the sisters, is that we walk that line. There's that balance between the outrageousness, the irreverence, the craziness, but also this serious message that we have and these serious causes that we fight for. And we hold both of those together at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I think that's what really drew me ultimately to the sisters.
And then did you already know who became your mother in your journey before you joined the sisters?
I don't remember being given a choice on who was going to be my mentor. I think just because of the size of the house, I was told, you know, Tasha Salad was going to be my mentor, who is now one of our above.
Grandma Tasha.
Yes, your favorite sister.
Favorite sister always and forevermore. What is, I mean, you've been a sister for a long time, so there are plenty of super memorable moments. But is there any that, you know, you kind of go back to over and over again in your mind, just visiting?
I always say, like, when we give out the money for our grant each year, like just at that little ceremony that we do, and you know, and invite the organizations to, because like you see people getting that money that we've been working all year towards, and it going out into the community, and how it impacts those organizations, and just how excited they are to get that money, because it translates for them into very real things. Like, it's not just, oh, okay, we got some more money. Like, we often deliberately choose organizations that are smaller and have very small budgets. And so when we give them even $600, $700, $800, $1,000, that's a big difference for them. And it allows them access to places. It allows them to impact people. And so it's just always really heartwarming to me to see that we were a part of that I was in some way, by, you know, making that extra effort to be a body at Coat Check or whatever it is, that I actually was able to impact somebody through this other organization that I'm not even a member of, you know. So it just is that's always really nice to me. I think too, I'm really proud of our work that we've done with the Pride flag walls, and standing in the midst of haters, especially with the trans community, but we've just done it at Pride also. And just being a presence there with those walls, I really am proud of that. And it's always very impactful that we're able to be there, and you can see that, yeah, the haters don't necessarily always go away. They're still around. There's still a lot of hate in the world, but you can see that people appreciate our presence and just be standing there between them and the hate being slung at them. So that's one of the moments that's really special for me. Mm-hmm. Sounds strange to say it's special because it's kind of a difficult moment also, but I'm glad that we can be there. I'm glad that we can be there and be a part of that, and provide that service for the community.
It definitely elevates the crowd when we are in that situation, you know, because it's like brings everybody's vibe up, you know, in a positive way. In front of a wall of hate, we have this wall of love, and it's just a tangible feeling. Like, you feel the whole energy rise in the better direction. You feel everybody joyful and lovingly going forward. Yeah, I was going to ask you, after, you know, you've been a mother a bunch of times. Like, you have other children that you've had, and through, I know I'm your favorite, but like
from other mothers.
Yeah. So yeah, I know you have like other children that are cool, but probably not as wonderful as I've been. But what lesson have you learned?
Let Donna say that.
What was that?
Don't let Donna hear you say that.
No, Donna's my favorite. She's the prettiest. You guys shut up about that. Anyway. um, but like out of all the mothering, like of all the journeys you've had, what have you learned about being a mentor and helping people rise up through their journey?
Oh. Ultimately, the goal is we want the journey as a junior member to be one that's uplifting, whether that journey ends in becoming a fully professed sister or not. And that's really the hardest part sometimes, because some of my daughters have proceeded to become fully professed sisters, and some of them have not. And I wouldn't say that that's a mark of success or failure, because being a sister is not the high point of, like, you know, if you have a calling to be a sister, you have a calling to be a sister, but it's not like being a sister is better than any other way of serving the community. There's people who serve our community in lots of wonderful ways that aren't sisters, and those are just as legitimate and should be held up for respect just as much. And I think sometimes people come on this journey and they discover that the journey might not be for that, this calling might not be their calling. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that message is delivered through a difficult experience, you know, of going through that process. And I think just trying to make all of that whole process one that's positive for somebody, where they've grown as a person, you know, regardless of how long their journey is, whether you're a junior member for a couple of years, or whether everybody thinks you're just the best ever, or ultimately whether it seems like, okay, this isn't the right place for you. I hope that I can kind of facilitate for them a way that they've grown even as a person. Learning from your sister or your daughters is one thing too, learning what their strengths are. I stole these lines from Donna. Sister Donna. I was like, I like those lines. I'm going to start wearing them. I mean, you're my daughter, so we have a family resemblance. Okay. So, I see the way that you, Maryjane, are with the public, and the way that you interact with people, and I try to emulate that. So it goes both ways. It's not just, hey, look at me, I'm the FP, you have to learn from me, you know. It's like, let's learn from each other.
That's how we make a sisterhood, right? It's like we support and raise each other up and learn our strengths and put those together in a way that helps raise up our whole order of sisterhood. So, I mean.
Yeah, there's always this idea that, like, oh, elevating to FP, fully professed sister, is the end or the goal, or that's it. Yeah. And that's a goal, that's one spot, but man, there's like so much more evolution after that. Even as a fully professed sister, it's just like, I'm growing all the time. And finding ways that, like, maybe I don't do this part very well. Maybe I could do this part a little bit better, or, right. You know. And
you've been the prioress a couple of times too. So, you know, there are the other stages and development of becoming an FP. It's like, I don't have a position currently. Like I'm not a mistress of a thing, or, you know, and so that's like another level of taking on the responsibility and managing those responsibilities while you're also being present for the public and doing all the other sistery parts. So, yeah.
For sure. And just knowing what kind of nun you are, I think too, not every sister is the same. Mm-hmm. You know, not every sister is a performing sister or a speaking sister, or, you know, maybe there's certain mistress positions that I could do well and certain ones that I should probably never take on ever. So don't ever make me treasurer, because I've never been good at that. Math is hard.
Yeah.
It's
true. There are a lot of numbers.
but that's okay, if you're not the front and center speaking, performing nun. You don't have to be that. Like, we need worker bee sisters, we need those sisters that are maybe not up on stage, but are back in a quiet corner, just talking to people and connecting with people. And, when those people, like when the ones that are on stage performing or making themselves the center of attention, the one in the back is sitting there talking to a parent whose kid just came out to them as trans and having this, really deep conversation. So it's like, just because you're not up there being the focus doesn't mean you're not doing important work. Like, we're all have these different roles to play.
Yeah. It takes a whole order.
It does. It really.
You need all the diversity to be able to connect with all the different people and help them all with whatever they need. For sure. The one question I haven't asked yet, but we were thinking about, as far as like, however many years you've been in it, we're at 15 years for our order. From the time that you've joined till now, how do you see the differences in our order?
Is that a trick question? Because like, we're in the middle of this pandemic, like we can't.
I know, right? It's definitely a different 15th anniversary. Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky.
That's one big difference. Some big differences. I think the main differences kind of come about just in the makeup of the sisters that are in the house. I think, like, as the house evolves and changes and sisters come in and sisters go out, a big part of at least our sister house, I feel, is that a sister brings their calling with them or their passions with them, and they kind of will initiate projects or ideas. And I feel like our job as a house is to kind of walk alongside them and help them and join them in on those passions and those callings and doing those things. So, sometimes, I think early on, our house was very, very focused on fundraising. Maybe to the exclusion of like woo-woo stuff, like not as spiritual woo-woo. And then, some of those sisters kind of go emeritus or move on or move to a different house. And you have other sisters that come in that are more woo-woo and want to impact the community in that way. And so we kind of go that direction. Or you have more activist sisters and they'll like kind of lead the charge and we all go charging after them to be activists. And I love that, actually. And I think that that's a good thing. I do think that as a house, we've become more attuned to our community. We've listened to our community more over the years and have really tried to hear what the community needs and respond to that. Who am I as a sister now? What does ministry mean? Is this all just makeup and glitter and fun? Or what does it actually mean to put on face in this kind of atmosphere?
Well, Sister Krissy, is there anything else you want to say about just how the sisters have affected you or what you think about them?
The biggest way that the sisters have impacted me personally, I think, is that when I first became a sister, and even after becoming an FP, I think there was, sometimes we get this question about like, oh, what's it like to transform into Sister Krissy, or when you're putting on face and becoming a sister. And I think there still is a little bit of that process, but over the years too, I feel like my secular self and my sister self there's a big merging. And there's not as big of a distinction. And I used to say, and I still do say, that Sister Krissy is like my higher self. Krissy is like all the things I aspire to be, the good things about me. You know, my secular name, Kurt, has like a shadow side and all sorts of crappy, you know, things I need to work on. But Krissy is like all the good things. So when people challenge Krissy out in public, or I find a challenging situation, you know, Krissy always responds with grace, and Krissy always takes a moment to think about the best way to respond to things, whereas in my secular self, I don't always do that. And so I feel like over the years, like Krissy has slowly influenced Kurt little by little by little, and pulled Kurt up a little bit more, I hope, so that we're kind of the same people, the same person. And so, you know, we're just kind of, I am Krissy, whether I have makeup on or not. I have a ministry. Doesn't mean I don't still have shadow work and lots of stuff to work on, and don't like make lots of mistakes, because I still do. But hopefully being a sister, though, also reminds me to kind of channel that calling and that ministry, even when I'm not in face, even when I'm not done up, to just kind of remind myself that Krissy is there and can respond to things with grace instead of, you know, being a troll myself, or whatever it is that I'm thinking I should be. And advice-wise, I think just that it's okay to be the kind of sister that you are. You know, don't worry about being a celebrity sister, or having to do this or that well. You know, do what you do well, whatever that is, and contribute to the order in that way, I think is the best thing, the best way that you can be a sister. I think we get these ideas. I think we look at other sisters sometimes and think, oh, I wish I could do that, or I'm not like that. I'm not a very good sister, because I can't do those things very well. But I don't think that that's true. I think that there's just a room in our order for so many different types of sisters, and so many different types of nuns, and so many different types of ministry, and that we can do that, all of that. And that's why we come together as an order, so that we can support each other in doing that. And so don't be afraid to be the kind of sister that you are, even if it takes you years and years and years to figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like it. Good advice. Mm-hmm. Voila. Very good.
That was really sweet.